Hello everyone, this is Bobby here, and thank you for joining me on this video review of Game of Thrones television show, and also added information from the book to also give the viewers of the television show a little background information from the book. And I guess I've been saying in my comments and in the videos in the past saying that there won't be any spoilers in these videos, but now that I think about it, if you haven't read the books, then there will be spoilers in this. So it won't spoil, like, I'm not going to jump out and spoil the television series for you from what I know in the books. I'm not going to jump ahead and ruin that for you. So the television series, if you're just watching that, you're safe with that. I won't give out any information on that. But if you're going to the books, then maybe these videos aren't for you. But so what I'm doing in this video, I've done the most recent episode of Game of Thrones, which was episode 6 of season 2. And I've done a few earlier ones, but I have a lot to do and catch up on. But for this one, I'm just going to go back to the last episode, which was episode 5 of season 2. And the main reason why I'm doing this is because it's fresh in my memory what happened in the book. And also another reason is maybe because more viewers would check out my videos. Because it's all about the video count or the view count and all that. So, because it's more recent and it may be more appealing to people who have recently saw the episode than ones that happened way long ago, and people have already made reviews on those and everything. But I know people have made reviews on this episode too, but whatever. Anyway, alright, season 2, episode 5, The Ghost of Harrenhal. And this episode starts out with a scene with Renly and Catelyn discussing battle plans for the war and a joint alliance between King Robert of the north of Winterfell and Renly's army. And this conversation doesn't really happen in the book, although Catelyn is up speaking with Renly. This conversation doesn't happen, but you believe in the book that Renly does have intentions on joining with the Starks, but it never comes up. And also, Catelyn doesn't just travel up there by herself. Rob sends like 30 men with her at least, so they made it seem like in the show that she's by herself, and she's not. So a shadow sneaks in and stabs Renly in the back, and this is obviously the force that the Red Priestess Melisandre gave birth to. So it's inevitable for me to bring up stuff in past episodes that I'm going to later be reviewing that episode, so I'm just going to do it anyway. So in the book, it states that Catelyn is the one that believes that she saw Stannis' face on that shadow rather than Brienne claiming that, as in the show. That's a little bit of information right there, but Catelyn never gives out that information. You get that information from, I believe it's called third-person omniscient, I think, which pretty much means that you know the thoughts that are going on in the character's head. But she never tells anyone that she saw Stannis' face. I think she tells Brienne, that's about it, but she never tells anybody about it. So now we're going to go to a scene with Loras at Renly's deathbed, and I just got to say right off the bat, in the book, it's kind of hinted that Renly and Loras are having a kind of relationship, but it's never brought up into the light. There's never any scenes with them together, or love scenes, or anything like that, which they added in the show, which I'm assuming is for dramatic reasons, but it is hinted at. So you have a scene with Littlefinger and Marjorie, who is the widow of Renly, and she's pretty much saying that she wants to be the queen of all the 7 kingdoms. Who doesn't? And so now, in the next scene, we have Cersei and Tyrion, who Tyrion is discussing or bringing the news to Cersei that Renly has been killed, and most of his forces, except for the Tyrells, have moved over to Stannis' side. And it's unknown how Renly died. It's just rumors, and So Tyrion wants to find out what the battle plans are for Stannis and what the king intends to do. And Cersei is pretty much hiding the fact on what Joffrey plans on doing. Which in my opinion isn't really a big deal, because what the fuck can Joffrey really plan? But I'm sure he wants to know, because Joffrey's plan is probably a horrible one and he wants to make a new one and, you know, stop it before it fucks everything up. And so, that's similar in the book too, is because right when Tyrion shows up as the Hand of the King, Cersei is always blocking him from doing what he wants to do, and is always keeping information from him, and she's just she doesn't trust what his motives are and everything. So it's pretty similar, like, as the show and in the book. So then the next scene is when Tyrion finds out about the wildfire from his cousin, who he blackmailed into giving him information by saying that he's going to tell Jaime Lannister that he's pretty much having sex with Cersei. And this happens in the book, and there isn't really any scene. There's scenes of them discussing and everything, but not on the side of the road in like a little pen thing that they have set up. That's not a big deal anyway. Doesn't really fucking matter. And so now we have another scene with Davos Seaworth speaking to Stannis Baratheon about what he saw Melisandre do, the Red Priestess, what she gave birth to in that last episode at the end. And this situation, what he saw does not happen in the time appropriate way as it does in the book, and I don't really want to explain that right now because it might be brought up in a later episode and it might not be, so I'm just going to wait on that. I'm not even going to bring it up, but just know that it is different from the book. And so he's pretty much saying to Stannis that Melisandre, the Red Priestess, has extreme power, and everyone's whispering that maybe you're being led by her leash, and she's whispering demands in your ear and you're listening and abiding by them. And he says to Stannis that he does not think it's a good idea that she was to come along on the battle with them, because she might try to take over or something, you know, like, you can't trust her. And Stannis actually takes his advice and says that Melisandre will be left behind during the battle. So now we have Tyrion just walking through the streets of King's Landing, and the first thing that I noticed in this scene was the eels, and them showing like marketplaces, like they have food and everything, people are eating. And in the book, it's not like this at all. At this point, King's Landing is a horrible place to be for the lower class. It's just horrible. Like, people are pretty much what's being sold is rats, dogs, cats, and sometimes Tyrion suspects to be human flesh, because all of the port areas are just being closed up. Like, everywhere is being pinned up in the book, like where they can't get any exported goods or exported foods or anything like that, because the sea is being run by Stannis. And I made this little map here to show the people. I mean, I'm not even sure if you're going to be able to see this, and I apologize if I show this and it doesn't even show up on the camera. But anyway, I'm probably wasting time here, but anyway. This is the Seven Kingdoms. This is the south, and then here's the north. Right here is the wall, right here. And then this is all of the north. Anyway, so where Stannis is this little island right here, which is called Dragonstone. And then in this port right here, all the way through right here, is King's Landing. That's where Tyrion and the king and everyone live. That's the capital of Westeros, right there. King's Landing. So they can't get any exported goods that way out of this whole bay right here. Nothing's coming through. And it's pretty much all around here. You have the war between the north with Robert and the Lannisters. So pretty much everything there is being cut off, and resources are being drained. And it's a shitty situation to be in King's Landing. There isn't any food. And people are getting extremely pissed, as you can tell from the Herald, or the Crier, Town Crier, whatever you want to call him. who's pretty much pissing all over the way that the city's being ruled and the kingdom's being ruled. And in the book, that's similar too. There's the same scene with Tyrion hearing a herald or a town crier calling him a monkey devil, which is pretty funny. And so, and these videos are going to be split into two parts, two 15-minute parts. So at 15 minutes, I'm going to have to start a new part. So now we have a scene that pissed me. Right when this scene started, I got pissed. You see Theon's smug little fucking face smiling. I hate the way it almost seems like one of his eyes is like higher than the other, like Sloth from the Goonies, but not to that extreme. But he definitely looks like he's the weirdest looking dude I've ever seen. One of them, and his teeth are all crooked and shit. He fits the part. That actor fits the part of Theon very well, and you just see his smug little dick face smiling at a ship, and he's getting no respect from any of his so-called crewmates, who he's trying to order around. And this is pretty much how it is in the book. When he walks into the Iron Islands, he talks like that. He talks pompously. He thinks that everything is entitled to him, and he thinks that he can just walk in and just start giving commands to these people, and that's not the way that it works there. And so Asher, his sister, shows up and starts pretty much mocking him and giving him shit. And this never happens in the book. She's pretty much gone and doing her own thing, what her raid is, what they're talking. I'm not sure where she's raiding, but they say in this very scene, she's already on that mission. She's already on sea with that. She never shows up and does all that shit or makes fun of him. So the guy that Theon actually ends up talking to pretty much near the end of that scene is in the book, but he's not how I described him to be. In the book, his name is something, his first name and then his last name is Cleftjaw. His last name is made up, because in the book his character is described as when he was in battle years ago, he had an axe that was taken to like the middle of his face, and it pretty much split all of his skin, and it healed up in very horrible, like just terrible way, and it's just scary to look at, and his face is all like ripped apart, so that's why they call him Cleftjaw. He didn't look like that in the television show, which is obvious because they would have had to explain his whole life. Anyway, so now we have Tywin, who's pissed about losing to Robb Stark, and it obviously shows when he sends one of his relatives away, pretty much threatening to cut off his head because he gives a stupid suggestion. And Arya is there as a cupbearer, and so there's a little scene here where he's quizzing her on where she is and where she's from, who she is and where she's from. And she fails at first, and he finds out that she's lying, and he pretty much points out that you're from the north. And she gives him a phony place. She doesn't say that she's from Winterfell, and she gives him the sigil and information about that place, and he's satisfied. But he also gets her. You can see like respect pass between them, kind of, or at least from him to her, for how like bold she is and she's clever. But I gotta say, this never happens in the book. She's never a cupbearer for Tywin Lannister. The moment she arrives at Harrenhal as a prisoner, she's assigned to some like piece of shit guy who just threatens them all the time and beats them for doing wrong things. She pretty much does chores and fetches notes and runs back and forth and does things for the guy and does all that type of stuff. She's not a cupbearer for Tywin Lannister. Like, I don't get why that happened. I don't understand why. That's like the complete opposite of what happened in the book. So that I can kind of give shit for, because it's not time consuming to be doing something like that. There's really no reason for it besides adding a dramatic air to the show, like her being as close to the so-called lion as she could possibly be, is intense and everything. So right now we're on the almost the 15-minute marker, so if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it, you guys. And look out for part 2, which is going to be available right after you watch this one. And vote and comment, please, and I appreciate it. Check out part 2.